up, everybody? It's Chad. We're back again with another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. Today, I'm here with my friend Ceci. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, thank you for
having me. And I said it wrong, Ceci. There we are.
Ceci.
I was saying it like Ceci's Pizza.
Ceci's pretty good.
We used to have one here in Cruces, but they closed it down, 10 years ago, Gino?
Really? That long?
I think maybe 6 years. Maybe it hasn't been that long.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while, but we used to have Ceci's Pizza. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure to have you on. I know you've been wanting to get on for a while. Finally, we got you on.
Yes,
so.
finally.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining me today. But for the people who don't know you, of course, the ones not from the El Paso area, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, so I'm Ceci from Cannarome Adventures, and what I do in the community is basically I'm a cannabis event community engagement leader. I'm also a canna mom. I'm also a cannabis activist.
Yeah, you're yeah, we're all advocates around here.
Yes, definitely.
And I tell it to people all the time, if you're in the industry, if you're a patient, if you're just joining this, you are an advocate. Like you secretly signed up, didn't even know it. And sometimes people do it on their own without realizing it. And I have to point it out. I was like, you are an advocate, and you have to point it out. So you're an advocate too, and you do a good job. So, thank you so much for joining me today.
I try, and I definitely try to get the community involved in that because being from El Paso, Texas, it's a interesting area.
Definitely. And then we'll dive into that right now. So you're from the El Paso area.
Yes.
And being so close to, the New Mexico border, you get to enjoy this side of things, like you get to go and check out the dispensaries, the consumption lounges, of course, the events.
Yes.
The events are fun. I see them all the time.
Events are definitely fun. It's a way to just connect. It's just a way to get the community out.
Yeah.
Out of the green closet, so to say. It's still very taboo. It's still very much a stigma in the area. So I'm from El Paso, Texas, but my second home is Gallup, New Mexico.
That's where Gino's from.
Yes. So that's a very small, itty bitty little town compared to El Paso. But El Paso, it's very, we're not with other Texas. It seems like we're so far over here, and so with New Mexico being there, it's a privilege. I feel like it's a privilege of having Sunland area, Chaparral, Las Cruces, to be able to witness this and grow and us actually coming out. So that's pretty awesome to enjoy.
No, and it's great because we also get to see what the Texas market may look like. Especially in this area, because I tell people all the time, it's like Sunland Park is not the New Mexico market. That is the Texas market. I was like, it's in New Mexico, but about 98% of those customers come from Texas.
Yes, all are there.
That's all you see is like Texas plates. And for those of you watching, I know I've talked about Little Dubai all the time, but it is literally right next to El Paso. You can throw a rock and hit El Paso businesses from the Southern Park side.
You can see it just right there.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. You can actually, from the dispensaries.
Who's working today?
Right. From the dispensaries, you can take binoculars and look at the houses on the mountainside of El Paso.
And you can see Juarez. And then you can see, it's just, we're all connected right there in this little area. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right. Right behind us is Mexico. Right there is Texas. And then we're sitting right there. So it's a beautiful area too.
Yes.
I really love it. And, it's cool that you bring this. So let's talk about, your title. Can you explain to people what that actually means and what you do?
Yeah, so I like to call myself, I want to be the fit fam of the cannabis industry. I want everybody to come out to these events. I'm very community and event based driven. So anything that is going on in the area, I always ask people to just tag me in your events, because we like to do things, and it's such a privilege and honor for us to be able to just drive out it's like an hour?
Yeah.
An hour or so from here. We go to Rio Doso too all the time. We try to keep the hiking people. We're like, let's go hit it up over there, the lounges, this whole area. So I try to, whenever anything's happening in the industry, I like to spread the word. I like to help spread the word. Now, I don't like to call myself like an event promoter, because I don't work for any dispensary. I don't work for anybody. I have mad respect and I support everyone. I'm more for the community. So I like to share events, meetup. I have a meetup group, and that's something that I should definitely talk about. I have a meetup group. Whenever you guys want to go to an event and don't have anybody to go with, I'm like, let's meet up. If I know you, you could come in my car. But if I don't know you, I'll definitely meet up with you at these events. So you don't have to be alone. You could just join with the crew you've gone
Mhm.
on some little adventures with me and meetups and stuff. So it's pretty interesting. I love it.
Yeah, and actually, I did get to go to one of them, and I was going to talk about that this episode too because that was really fun. We went to Alamogordo, or actually Alamosa, is where it's in between Alamogordo. There's my Otero County
It's
popping up.
not like you're from there.
Alamogordo and Tularosa, and it's actually a real place now. When I was younger, it was a fake place, like it was just what we called it. But now it has like a legitimate post office, has a little sign of how many the population is, like population 50 or something like that. But it was in Alamosa. It's in Stogies. It's by all the pecan pistachio places and stuff like that in Alamo. And fun location. We all met up there, smoked out for a bit, and we went to Ruidoso and checked out a couple lounges there. And it was a real fun time. That was my first time checking out the lounges in Ruidoso, since we went legal and stuff. And it was really fun. I found a really cozy little lounge that I really enjoyed. I forget the name of it. I'm sure you know it because you go all the time. It's
there's several.
The one with the lockers. It's the only one that has lockers that you can put your stuff in.
Okay,
Yeah.
the greenery room.
Yes, the greenery room. Yes, I love that place. Shout out to y'all.
Yes.
Yeah, they're doing a good job.
Yes, they are. So I went stargazing there one time.
Oh, really?
They had I was gonna say a microscope. It's not a microscope.
Telescope. Yeah.
They had a telescope on the rooftop. So they actually gave us a paper and they showed us like what exactly we were looking at. And yeah, we had to smoke and hang out, meet other people from up there. It was a good time. I think actually I took a dispensary on their bonding, like I guess team bonding trip. I took them up there. So we all like hung out in there. But yes, within the area, I think there's like 4 or 5 lounges, which is very important with what I do because we meet up. We need a spot where it's safe to go to. It's open to the public. It's open to anyone in the area, or if not, even if you're from, I don't know, like a mile away or like 10 miles away, it doesn't matter. Like we all can meet up at a safe spot. So Stogies is one of them. That one is by where you live. And then
where I'm from.
Where you're from. Sorry, I forgot. You live in Cruces, right?
Yeah. I live here in town.
So the next one would be that I like to go to is Monster House. They have a second location up there, not just the one in Cruces, but they have one up there, and then it's the greenery room. Across the street is the Nomad.
Mm-hmm. Actually went there too.
What did you think of that one?
That was cool. It was
I feel like it's like a little apartment.
Yeah.
Like a little. It's just, and I've met quite a few people there too. It's always a good time there. And then so those are the 3. And there's sometimes weed roll. Sometimes I just don't know about their hours because sometimes we've gone and they're open, sometimes they're not. So I don't know, but weed roll is pretty neat too. They all have their own unique twist to meeting up because it's something for everybody. So, but I like all of them. I like going to all of them.
Yeah, and I see you sometimes randomly at, here in town at the Lit Lounge because I go there quite a bit.
Now there's 2 here in Cruces, so that's something very close to El Paso that we could come to. In my opinion, everybody's like it's far. I'm like, no, it's not. It's just right there.
Yeah, and depending where you are in El Paso, it's like 40 minutes, sometimes 35, 38 minutes. So
yes, it depends.
Yeah, it depends. Like the west side, it's a good 30 minutes. But yeah, if you go more east end, then you're out there. But it's really not that bad, especially if you're going to come out here, consume legally, buy it legally, all that good stuff, and have that peace of mind. Yes. Because, I tell people this all the time. I was there when we created consumption lounges and I helped with the language, and it was supposed to be for everyone and anywhere and everywhere. That's what they were supposed to be. Now, initially you were supposed to be able to bring your own product, but we're seeing now with the lounges, a lot of people are telling me, well, I don't want to go to the lounge because I can't bring my own product, meaning they want to bring something either better or something that they like.
Or their own stuff that they grow or that they have.
Yeah, and that's cool. But at the same time, that's up to the consumption lounge because we're and you're proving this too, that it's not retail, it's hospitality.
Yes.
And so if you don't, act very hospitable, people don't want to come. So what I'm trying to say is you can't make it just on your well, like your well product. You have to have higher end product too. And I think that's where a lot of these lounges are lacking is they have either they want to just sell their own product. Don't get me wrong. Everyone wants to promote their own brand and everything, but they only get you so far in a consumption lounge. In a consumption lounge, you need different levels. And I get some dispensaries like, well, we only sell booth because that's what, the customer wants. It's like, well, this is hospitality. This isn't retail. You're going to get everyone from walks of life if you provide it. So if I have a 2 for whatever dabs, on some rosin, right? And let's say it's 2 for 5. Okay. I will pay 2 for 9 if it's a better product. 2 for 10 if it's a better product. Say it's a, top shelf, rosin. I'll pay that gladly all day. I'm going to enjoy it more. It's going to be a better experience for me. And that's probably the reason why I went there. Maybe that, because, you know, there could be a possibility in the future that they'll have lounge exclusive drops, you know, where this is only available in the lounge, you know, kind of thing.
And I could definitely see something like that happen. And some like giving us more of a tier. I guess you're trying to say like a different type of tier, and different types of products would definitely work, because I meet so many people. It's so funny because we all like different dispos, especially when we do meet up. We're like, where did you get that? Where did you get that? There's different levels. Sometimes people go for the deals. Sometimes people really go for the quality. But I guess also with educational events that I love to go to and that I've been part of with the community, I can understand why it's important, why that product costs more, and why it's so much better for me to consume that than something that's on sale. You know, but I mean, there's some people that I've had where I cannot change their mind no matter what, and they're like, no, it's a sale. I'm like, okay, cool, that's what you do. But yeah, the lounges, I mean, I don't know. Even though I've been to them so much, there's just so many different things that we've consumed, and so many people, because we all share. It's all community. So, but with bringing your own product, I don't mind it, but I'd rather have something that's been tested, because then there could also be other stuff that may cross in and that you don't know what it is. So I feel like it's more of a safety thing too. But yeah, it just ranges. It's different.
And it's tricky, you know, like, you know, cannabis has always been this like community thing, you know, like I grow up myself, this and that. It's like, that's cool. But that's not the kind of lounge this is, you know, like when you go to a bar, you buy what's there. And if you don't like what's there, you go somewhere else. And that's what you can do with the lounge. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot. So like they kind of, I wouldn't say have a monopoly, but they have the power right now to say, well, you get what we have. But at the same time, I go to some of them, I'm like, you would be a lot more busier if you had your well, which is, you know, your 2 for $5, whatever. You had your mid-tier, and then you had your top shelf stuff too. You know, like the best thing I can think about it, and most people, I hate comparing it to alcohol, is when you go to a bar, you have the well. Where's the well? Right in front of the bartender, right? No one sees it. You don't even see the bottles, don't even know the brand half the time. But what do you see? You see the top tier stuff behind the bartender on a shelf, lit up, looking pretty, you know, dusted off, you know, they make them look nice. That is what you normally see a lot of people drinking. You'll see them drink well, of course. But when I was a bartender, on Friday nights, we would go through a couple of bottles of Patron about every Friday. It'd be about 2 bottles. And so people do buy the top shelf. And they buy it a lot. Yeah, it's just particular top shelf. Gino's raising his hand too. You know, like, and people want to be bougie, like, oh, this is, you know, whatever. And you can do that with cannabis. There's products like that, you know, like Alabastra's some really great rosin here in the state.
But
you know?
Yes, they are. And it just depends who you ask though too.
Yeah, it's all personal preference.
It's personal preference. So, I mean, it just ranges. And because I experienced that with the many people that I have met, and more and more that I'm learning with, well, actually just being face to face. And I think that's so important at these events, is being face to face with the growers and being able to ask them questions and be able to make the own decision for yourself as to what you want to consume. And so that way, when you go to certain places, lounges, dispensaries, you're gonna like be like, hey, you know what? I remember them. They were like, they told me this, this, and this, and I really vibed with them, or whatever it is. So they're gonna get that product. It's very community service, I think, based too.
It is,
and how well you want to educate the community, because at the end, to break the stigma, we need to educate people and lessen the fear.
Yeah, and you know, that's what I really liked about the farmers markets that are going on. You know, some of the consumption lounges. You know, you get to talk to the grower directly. You know, you go and get your penny sample, whatever, and you get to try their product, and then you get to buy their product from them too. And then also, like, how did you grow this? How's this and that? And to be honest, it gives you more personable experience, you know, with them. You know, you get to learn who they are, who these growers are, where they're from, you know, their style of growing, et cetera, you know, their own cannabis plant beliefs, because everybody has their own, you know, own theories and stuff. But yeah, you know, like, it is personal preference and everything. But I think, once we get away from this high THC, or just going off of THC numbers, things will change. You know, and it's slowly changing, and we'll see it get there. But you know, I'm really glad that, you know, you're going out and really showing off our lounges, because that's something that's kind of like putting a lot of states apart. And people always complain like, well, there's someone smoking in, you know, outside in the public. I was like, you know, I don't know, what fixes that? A lounge, you know, and especially a good lounge, you know, because you'll want to go. watch the game, get some food, something
or
like
watch a
that.
movie, or
Yeah.
do karaoke,
Mhm.
or go eat.
Check out a DJ.
Check out a DJ,
Mhm.
local events. Even just I've been to like women-based events type thing. Just meet the growers. That I know which event you were talking about. That
Yeah.
one was fun.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was.
fun.
Yeah, it was a fun event.
It was really neat to go that route because I've been to the traditional market
Yeah.
way ones, which are fun too, but the networking was very amazing as well.
Yeah.
So that's very awesome to learn.
Yeah, it is, and that's, I think, what she's talking about with the market thing. I was trying to think how I was going to explain this. So what she's talking about the traditional market thing is there's before legalization, and even now, they're more rare. There was cannabis events every day almost when we first legalized it, before we had dispensaries. So the first year in 2021, before 2022, we opened the doors. You could probably flip a coin and then guess there was going to be a freaking event somewhere here in town or in Albuquerque or something. And so at these events, there was illegal product being sold. And at the time, no one gave a shit because there was nowhere to buy it. So that, the state was kind of just looking the other way. But it kind of continued after legalization too. And, last year, I think is one of them I want to say got exposed by the media. I don't know if it's been happening since then, but I haven't heard it has. But yeah, that's what she's talking about with the traditional market stuff like that. And they're fun. I've been to them myself.
Yeah,
And I enjoyed it.
The
But
first one that I ever came out to publicly, like I had a wonderful experience. It was actually after the El Paso Normal March,
yeah,
which was the first really, really public event I ever been to in El Paso itself. Like we marched down to the courthouse, and it was actually a really good peaceful protest, I guess, or march. I don't know what you would call it, but we were out there, and it was amazing. And then we went to an event, like a market event afterwards. But for us Texans, I mean, anything we do is still kind of illegal.
yeah,
So in a sense, once you cross that the state, it's just it's a whole different piece of land.
yeah,
So yeah, you do definitely try. I mean, now I definitely know that there's more lounges being open, more places opening up, that it is to um, go to the traditional market. Try to stay away from that.
yeah.
Because it does hurt the the legal market. If we want to move that way, if
Yeah.
we're trying to move forward, if we're trying to like um fight the big fight, I mean, don't we gotta? Isn't there rules?
Yeah, there is. And there's rules on the traditional market.
There
They may
is.
be unspoken or non-official, but there are rules.
True.
And like people followed those for the longest time. What the issue is with the rec side is we have so many big entities with so much money trying to monopolize the market. You
Mhm.
hear me all the time. Don't close the licenses. Don't close the
Oh, yeah.
licenses. It's things like that. And the traditional market people, by all means, don't want that to happen. And they already see it happening in all these other states, getting bastardized and this and that. And you come to New Mexico, and we've been resisting that, this whole time. But there's still a lot of people that are like, no, in the traditional market we trust, and this and that. I'm like, that's fine. Do what you want to do. Buy from your dealer the rest of your life. I do not care.
Mhm.
But I'm going to do everything I can to ensure that we're not going to go the same route that these other states have gone. Like closing licenses, being too limited. Don't get me wrong, we're overregulated here in New Mexico, but we're not as overregulated as certain states, like even Colorado. Colorado is highly, highly overregulated. Oregon, Washington, same thing. So I'm glad that we have what we have, but at the same time, I can see where they're coming from when they're like, well, all legalization has done is this and this and brought all the Brads and Chads and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. But, those Brads and Chads were also operating on the traditional market for a little bit too,
Yeah.
So, they kind of dipped their hands in both areas, and it is what it is. But one day we will see a change, and it's up to us, like you said. If we want the traditional market to take over, or if we want this legal market. And to be honest, I think people feel better with just walking into a store, buying it off the shelf. It's tested and all that stuff versus having to call a dude, figuring out if he's free.
Well, it definitely helps break the stigma,
Yeah.
because we're not most of us are medical patient. I'm a medical patient. My background did start in the medical field. Just dealing with patients, and because I did billing and coding for the longest time, and just after reading so many charts of what medication has done to people when they come back for their follow-ups, like the pharmaceutical companies are just it's
The
just
worst.
yeah, it's and that's where it started with me, because also when they would give me a prescription, I was that person that read up all the side effects, and they were worse than what we were trying to fix.
Yeah.
And you know what, with cannabis, I don't there's the worst side effect you get is like you go to sleep or you throw up. um it was just the choice for me, and I feel like that's happening for so many other parents. That's happened for other just people in my community, veterans, just teachers, anybody that has like anything type a stressful job or just wants to medicate. It helps breaks the stigma when they are able to go to a dispensary freely, or even through a drive-through. We fight for drive-throughs all the time, and
Yeah.
it's so important.
Yeah.
Like drive-throughs are so important just as much as lounges are to me.
Yeah.
So we definitely feel safer going to a dispensary as like parents and things like that. But it's yeah, we definitely have to have more of that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And thank you for bringing up the drive-throughs. Yeah, because those are so important. Especially for patients. Just because it's ADA compliant doesn't mean it's ADA accessible. I've seen some of those ramps that people in wheelchairs have to go up. I would struggle myself as someone who's able-bodied considered going up that too. The one here even that we have at the station, like that would be fun if I was on a skateboard going down it. Like that's what they're good for sometimes. But yeah, just because it says ADA compliant doesn't always mean that the person needing to use it can. Like say I'm a quadriplegic, right? For me to get out of my vehicle, and if I'm driving whatever, if it's modified or whatever, it takes a long time. It takes a lot of effort. And it's over 100 degrees here in New Mexico during the summer. Windy days, dusty days. Just let me go through a damn drive-through. Yeah.
The dust storms that we had randomly yesterday with the dust storm,
and they're getting worse. We're getting more and more every year. And so it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. So drive-throughs mitigate a lot of issues that people go through. Like parents, you can't take your kid into a dispensary. Like
but you could take them in alcohol stores.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Yeah, it's so weird. Actually, in New Mexico, you can buy your kid alcohol or liquor, alcohol, beer, as long as they consume it at home.
Yes.
Yeah. So like, I'm like, so why are we like trying to do this whole, keep the weed away from kids when you're giving it alcohol to kids, like just openly and willingly?
Something
like
that's been proven to be worse and doesn't have any health benefits.
Yeah, so exactly. Like I'm not saying we should give it to cannabis to kids at all. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's a double standard. Like we're worried about cannabis and kids getting it, but at the same time, we are literally giving kids alcohol. I grew up Catholic, right? So I grew up drinking wine. Every Sunday. Yeah, every Sunday I got to drink wine. At the age of 8 or 10. It's a sip, but still, like I got to drink.
Was it a sip? Was it a sip?
Sometimes it was a little more than a sip. But and my older sister, she used to buy us alcohol all the time too, and it was never seen as like a big thing. But you have this whole hemp crackdown, and we'll get onto that too, the hemp conversation. We'll get onto that later. But we're having that crackdown. It just, to me, it's a double-edged sword. Like they're not having these conversations about alcohol. For some reason, they just forget that there's even an issue that kids are getting a hold of it. Some of these kids are becoming alcoholics, early on in their teens. And I witnessed it when I was younger, some of my friends becoming alcoholics. And, that had like everlasting effects on their adulthood. Some of them continue to be alcoholics, and unfortunately, a couple of them died due to it. And, if that wasn't a part of their life, maybe it would have been another drug. I don't know. But I do know that alcohol was the reason why they're not here with us anymore. It's unfortunate. And to be honest, cannabis has never done that. If I lock myself in a room and just smoke a bunch of weed, my room's just going to stink. It's just going to be really smelly in there. And I probably won't even like it after a while.
Hotbox it.
Yeah, but if you do that with alcohol, you're not coming out of that room. I appreciate what you do too, is kind of what I'm saying too, because it takes a lot for someone to just go out of their own way on this little mission to be like, I'm going to show people about lounges. You don't work for anybody. No one pays you. You don't have to wake up and answer to anybody on this, and it's all straight self-motivated.
Yes. And it's definitely like, I've seen the change come along. My meetup groups are getting bigger. People are like, oh, this looks like fun. fun, and they end up having such a good time. Like
Yeah.
it's breaking the stigma little by little, and especially because like social media, our stuff could get taken down any second. But it's definitely, the cannabis industry is still word of mouth.
Yeah.
So if we go over and we hit you guys up and we're there and you guys have such great customer service, or you guys just make it fun, make the experience that much like just better for us, or better, memorable, I should say, more memorable. Where they're gonna keep coming back, and they're gonna keep telling their friends. They're gonna, like last time we had one of our friends brought her mom. Like it's just she's like, "Oh, this is something that we know." And it's so funny because she talks about like the 70s, and we're thinking it's like 30 years ago, and it's like, no,
That was way longer.
it's way longer. Like, what? No, stop. And because she's seen it so change so many times. So I love hearing the stories from the past, because in order for us to make a better future, we got to learn from the past and stop making those mistakes. And that's how I feel like with Texas, or how I feel like following you guys here in New Mexico. I'm like learning from you guys. So hopefully once it gets to Texas, hopefully we learn something from the other states, because Texas is interesting.
Well, you guys are learning how to fight, because I'm impressed with the advocates there. And like you guys are down there fighting a fucking, I want to say losing battle, but it's an uphill battle.
It's definitely an uphill battle. I'm still new to it. I'm still in advocating, like, and learning just the lingo. And I will admit, I hadn't even registered to vote, because I always just thought, I guess it's more also my heritage, and growing up in El Paso, we're happy to be here as like Hispanics. We're happy to just be here. We don't ever think we can make our change, or our voice doesn't matter, as long as we're just here working every day, going to work, doing what we have to do, taking care of our kids. We don't get too much into politics. We're just here we're happy to be here.
Yeah.
But also with being someone from the medical field, politics run a lot of stuff. So even then, it was just, you had to know something. So here in the cannabis industry, now that it's becoming more of the legal market, we have to learn to be able to fight for ourselves. And the more meetup groups that we have to come out to, whether it be the town hall sesh, which those are amazing, an El Paso normal meeting, come out here, and there's people there that will ask. I may not know the answers to everything. I'm still learning, but I could connect you with someone who knows more than I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I've hit you up sometimes. I'm like, hey, somebody wants to know this, this, and this. What do I say? Or like, I tell them to reach out to you, or like other people that are in El Paso, because that's where I'm from. So, yeah, that's something that's very important.
No, 100%. And I was going to ask you this earlier, but I forgot. And I want to ask you now. What got you into cannabis? Like, what pulled you away from the medical field and then got you involved with cannabis?
Because for myself, I guess just personal experiences with certain diagnoses that I had. The medications were just not the side effects and everything, and then just how addicting some of the medications could be. I know I didn't want that for myself, and I would just revert back to consuming cannabis. But I know that was a lot for a lot of people, and it was just, I try not to get so involved and connected, but I can't help but get connected with patients. Right? It's just, I'm very compassionate when it comes to that, and especially because I'm dealing with them when their insurance companies don't cover a certain medication. They're like, what can I, like, can you change it for the doc? Can the doctor change it to this, this, and this? And they give me their stories, and I'm like, oh. And I can't tell them, hey, go smoke cannabis, like, or there's gummies now, there's other ways to consume it, like, and it'll help you. I couldn't do that, unfortunately. And so how can I be part of the medical field when this medical field was so against cannabis but pushed pharmaceuticals the way they did, knowing that it could kill people?
That it does every day, even today.
So I haven't been back ever since. I'm helping people in another way. And whether it be just making that one person like not be scared and actually help themselves and be educated and get off of alcohol or get off other drugs, like, I think that's very rewarding.
I don't know how many people I've heard from the medical field have the same kind of experience that you do, and information, like, the fact that they're killing us, not healing us. You know, like I've heard it countless times. Don't get me wrong. There's some soulless people that just wake up every day and go to work. Don't get me wrong. I've been that person before. But when you finally wake up, you know, and you realize how harmful things are, it's life-changing. You know, it changes something about you and it pisses you off. Oh my God, it pisses you off.
It does.
Yeah, like it just makes you mad. Like, why did you lie to me for so long about this? And why was I pushing this? What the hell's wrong with me? You know, that kind of thing. And like, you feel bad, but then it just motivates you to just fix it, you know, to do something about it. And I'm glad that, you know, we hear stories like yours, because a lot of people need to hear that, you know, because they probably all think, oh, the doctors are behind it, the nurses are behind it. No, some of the nurses disagree with what's going on.
They do. And sometimes, I mean, we just go to do our job, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, like someone from doing medical billing and coding, like I had charts and I dealt with doctors and then I dealt with the patients, you know, so I dealt with both and I was like in the middle. But it definitely, after a while, I'm just like, it didn't sit right with me.
Yeah.
When people were just to certain doctors, certain people, they were just a chart.
Yeah.
But to me, there was so much more. There were my grandma, there were my sister, there were my niece, there were my nephews. Like, and I was like, maybe the medical field isn't for me, because I get really attached.
Yeah.
I get really, really attached. So that was hard. But now it's just even me coming out publicly, that was a thing in itself. But I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did, because there's definitely a lot of people that are out here.
Yeah.
Like me.
And you know what? You may motivate someone else to come out and start doing this too. You know, you never know.
So.
Yeah. Maybe somewhere down the line you'll hear, you know what? You're the reason why I did this. And that's always good to hear.
Or
Yeah.
I do like when people come out and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy I went to that event. Because there were a lot of people are nervous. I've taken so many people to the consumption lounges for the first time. I love it. It's one of my favorite things I hear all the time is where I didn't know there was things like this for us.
Yeah.
I'm like, there is.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing?
Isn't it fun?
It's fun. Like, and guess what? You're not gonna be hungover tomorrow. And you're gonna be able to work and you're gonna be able to do everything just
We even had a margarita one day.
Oh,
Or it was a virgin cannabis margarita, but yeah, we had one margarita and it was really good.
It was really good.
Yeah.
So we still felt included. We cheers and everything.
Yeah, it was a good old time. It had chamoy on the rim and everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
But the hospitality and the customer service on that. I mean, it's just amazing that we could still do all this fun things.
Yeah.
We could just do it stoned.
And now at 420 they have Bong Pong. Have you played it yet?
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yes. So I suck at that, unfortunately. But yeah, I think Monster House, they have it. There was another lounge that has it too, and just I can't. I have carpal tunnel. Let me put myself on before I even play.
Have your little brace on and everything. You're like, I'm a little restricted, guys.
And then I win.
Right.
I like. I'm actually a pro.
I have to use my other hand.
It's left hand. Like the wrist.
That's funny. So what is your plans for, the Cannarome Adventures and stuff for the future?
So I just want to continue. Right now, I think I'm focusing a lot on the meetup group. I did want to do events, like themed events. I'm very arts and crafty. I like decorating. I love just bringing people together.
Yeah.
My favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. I love the togetherness and eating and all that. So if I could do that like once a month, it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I don't have a spot to do that. So right now, the meetup groups are definitely on the go. I'm getting different. That's why I share a lot of the flyers.
Yeah.
That's where it goes. But that's why I do that. So in case I forget, or someone's like, hey, that sounds interesting. I'm not doing anything that day, so let me put it in my calendar. So that's why I share those events. Sometimes you're gonna see me there. Sometimes now there's so many. So like I wish I had like clones of me so I could go to all of them. I want to go to all of them. So but if not, show up, you guys. Like if there's anniversaries coming up. The summer's coming up. So
I was gonna ask what events are coming up.
Oh my gosh. Wait. Put me on the spot. I don't have my calendar.
Well, what we'll do is we'll have people follow you so that way they can check it out.
Yes, definitely. Because I share them. I try to post them like weekly or as I see them. So as I see the events coming up at a disco, at a lounge, at anything, I share it. So save it. Go to their page. You could go to other people's pages and save their events. And hopefully I get to see you at one or all of them.
Nice. Yeah, I hope so too. And I'm glad that you started something like this. It's something like this that starts either something cool or creates something new. And, you know, I hope it's one or the other or both. Because, you know, going with you that one time was really fun. And I could see why people would want to do stuff like this, but, you know, putting it together with a bunch of different events and stuff.
And actually, with not just with the lounge tour, because the lounge tour, those are fun, but it's more also like, because it was like the first time that you had ever went on an adventure with me. It was, we went to El Paso normal meeting, you were speaking there.
Oh yeah.
And then after, there was a meetup.
It was unintended. Yeah.
But that's where the adventure comes.
Yeah, exactly.
Into what
Yeah.
I do, because it's all network. It's all literally word of mouth. So it's like the old school way, you know? So we ended up there. We ended up at a sesh, and then we went to go eat. And then you're like, what's on the agenda? I'm like, whoa, there's this. It was the bull.
Yeah. You tagged me in that photo like last week, I think.
I was like, there's this bull that they're going to have. Where was it?
It was at Dr. Green.
Dr. Green. Okay. Yeah. It was for their 1-year anniversary. I'm like, let's go check it out. And that was the first time. That was my mission the whole day. I just wanted to ride the bull for the first time at a cannabis event. And yeah, we both did it. That was like super fun. Yeah,
it was a good time. Then we went to, I think, Monster House afterwards.
Oh,
right?
Yes, that was your first time.
Yeah.
Well, there was a few other people that it was their first time. Like I said, I love just taking people there for their first time. And yeah, we hung out there. We had a sesh. You made me touch the haunted stuff. I was like, well, you know what? I have a picture. You guys go check out that picture. Tell me what you see in that picture.
Yeah.
You know which one when you see it.
Yeah. I've told this story many times on the podcast. You know, Gator had some boxes that he took into a haunted place and asked them to possess it. So I liked messing with people. Like, you want to touch it? Like, no,
and he
it's
threw it
fun.
at me. And I was like, why would you do that? I was like, oh my God.
No, that was a good time, and that's a good point. You know, it doesn't have to just be the lounge thing. It could be like a whole day of event of different things. You know, like something for advocate aiding. Cool. Afterwards, we'll sesh. After that, go to someone's anniversary. After that, hit up the lounge. You know, and dinner, whatever the fuck. It's little things leading up to, not big things, but leading up to something great collectively.
Yes.
You know, all together. Once you combine it all, because I remember that to this day. I remember one of the girls passed out in the back of the cars while we were in the lounge. When she came out, she just popped up, and I was like, "Isn't it illegal to keep your kid in the car?"
Yes.
So yeah, good times, you know, and then great memories and stuff. So you know, definitely, I want to see you keep continuing this. You know, I hope you know it evolves into something that you know is great for the whole community.
Yes.
So I appreciate you doing that. And is there anything else you want to talk about before we move on to the next conversation?
No, not really. The only thing that did pop into my mind was keep a lookout. I do want to do eventually a cannabis crawl.
Okay.
I've been trying to do that in Sunland. But now hopefully, I mean, because of the lounges, it'd be a great thing to end it or start it at the lounge. So I'm kind of waiting for 1 or 2 to open. But I do want a community event. That's something that I feel like, because it's so close. So if you want to be part of that, hit me up. You could email me. I do have a few dispos that are interested. So
nice.
It's in the works. So just definitely more community events, and just we work hard and play hard.
Yeah.
So it's also the advocacy events, the educational events, and then the fun.
Yeah, of course. And sometimes they're all on the same day, so that's even more fun. It's like a whole adventure, like you're saying.
There's also too July 5th, Laughing Grass.
Oh,
That's another event that I love. I saw you there last year.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. We went first to the El Paso normal meeting, and then we went there.
Yeah. And
so that's coming up July 5th. If you go into my Cannarome _adventures, I have my link up there. Use Cannarome with 1 N to get your promo discount ticket there, and I hope to see you there. It's so much fun. Last year we got to see so many dispensaries together. We got to this year they're gonna have a dab roast, so that should be fun.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to that. And then there's just so many events, but follow me and I'll definitely keep you posted. I'll definitely share your event. And
awesome. Well, thank you for that. And I was going to ask where people can find you, but you already told them. What I'll do is I have Gino put your stuff in the description so that way they can find it and everything.
Thank you.
Your email and your Instagram. So appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to continuing this conversation. But I'm looking forward for more adventures with you too. So it's been a fun time. And keeping a lookout for her, guys, and the Cannarome Adventures stuff. Great stuff for here in New Mexico. Like I said, we're not like every other state, so we have to do it the New Mexico way. Sometimes you need out of box thinking. So I appreciate that.
Or also Texan way.
Yeah, that's true. I forget sometimes she's from Texas. So sometimes you need that outside perspective.
But we're also learning from the inside. So
exactly.
It's just we're
learning from each other.
We're a team. We're together. So
yeah, as always, and that's the reason why I help Texas too. You guys are so close. So many people that I care about live in El Paso, work in Sunland, and are in this industry that, it'd be selfish of me to not help out as well. So I appreciate y'all. You guys are fighting hard. Some of the advocates did say they wanted to come and visit New Mexico. That'd be great to have them at our legislature too.
Yes,
so keep a lookout. They might be down, come and help us out, pass some flyers out. So
I'll escort you. I'll drive you guys.
We'll all have an adventure afterwards. Yeah, exactly. We'll have an adventure afterwards. So, but anyway, thank you so much again. Without further ado, let's jump on to the next conversation that I have here. And then we'll move on with the episode and everything. So we're going to be talking about the big grows. And I've mentioned this a few times. I haven't really dug into it too much, but I feel like this is a great time to right now. Because one of the biggest grows, or one of the bigger, no, not biggest, one of the bigger grows in Colorado actually shut down end of last year. The report that I saw kind of came out recently, but I guess it was just additional information to that. They were called Green Dragon. They had a 92,000 square foot growing facility itself. Now this company also has retail on top of grow. So they were juggling a lot of things instead of focusing on one. And to be honest, that's what most people were doing early on in the legalization days and the medical days, especially here in New Mexico. Here in New Mexico, you had to sell your own product. You couldn't, get anybody else's product. At first it was your own and that's it. And so that's the model that a lot of people went with. But what we're seeing is these huge, massive grow facilities either coming offline, getting sold, shutting down altogether. And this is not just happening in the United States. This happens in Canada as well. And this is where I first started picking up on it as a trend. Was I noticed in Canada, some of these big grow facilities were shutting down, or they were changing crops. One started growing tulips because they couldn't make enough money selling cannabis. Like, it blew my mind. Now, when you grow tulips, you can use a lot more pesticides and things like that to mitigate some of these bug issues because you're not smoking it or ingesting it. But it goes to show that in cannabis, it is the opposite. Like, some of these people got into this industry thinking, I'm going to have the biggest facility. I'm going to put everybody out of business. I'm going to tank the price. And to be honest, some of them have tanked the price, but not in a good way because they're just selling boof, essentially Reggie. That's where your $50 ounces come from. That's where your $100 ounces come from. Your $20 ounces come from, are grows like that. It's very seldomly it's going to be a higher end product that's just getting marked down. You'll see that every now and then, but for the most part, this is low quality stuff that it's coming out. Now, what I'm trying to get at is that we're going to have to lean on the micros going further because we're seeing this in New Mexico too. I mean, some of the biggest grows and some of the biggest companies are struggling right now. And don't get me wrong, it's not just because of the grow facility. There's many different things as to reason why a company is struggling, but this doesn't help, and having a 92,000 square foot facility, that's expensive. And having enough growers to grow a very good product, that's expensive too. And so a lot of these companies, they're trying to cut corners, save money. So they're hiring people off the street who don't know much about growing. And then when it gets messed up, they get mad at that guy, fire it. And then it's just a revolving door. And I've seen it. I've seen it here in New Mexico. I've seen it in other states. And that's kind of what happened here because I even dug in and I looked at some Reddit posts from ex-employees from this company, Green Dragon. They're saying they only cared about money. I think one of them called him Greed Dragon. It's clever, and I did giggle. Oh, wow. But, it also showed you how severe the issue was with that company. So it wasn't just the fact that they had a big facility. And I've told people this. I'm like, it is almost impossible to have 20,000 plants and put out some really, really fire stuff consistently, unless you have a very dialed in grow and you have a very well-seasoned crew of growers. And a lot of the times you just don't run into that. That's just not the case. A lot of these times they're just trying to make most for their buck. And so they'll settle for selling $650 pounds. And that's really where this is going from because they're getting stuff as low as $650. And that's happening here in New Mexico too. This isn't something just happening in Colorado. It's New Mexico as well. I'm hearing people getting $800, $600 pounds and, trying to claim that it's great. But, people tell me it's 30%. And I'm like, but what's the terps? What's the all around? You're telling me 30% and that's just a number to me right now. Yeah, I don't pay attention to that.
I'm actually hearing less and less about percentages too, though.
Here in New Mexico,
Like,
yes.
being a consumer on that side, I don't hear it as often as I did when I first started going to dispensaries.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm glad, that means that we're doing a good job. A good job, bud tenders. Y'all are the ones who are actually doing most of the educating. I only do so much on my show. You all are out there dispersing all this information every day individually. You guys are literally, every customer coming in, you're trying to educate. Don't get me wrong, it's not everybody, but a lot of you are. And it's showing. So keep it up. You're doing a great job. And she's telling me that, it's working now. So,
Yes,
I'm glad to hear that.
I mean, I don't know if it's because like I'm always at all the dispensaries too, but a lot of like the people that I meet up with, like I'm hearing it less and less on the consumer side. So that's really good that we're learning. I mean, the educational events and the thing, it's very important.
It is. And, a lot of people in naysayers, the consumer will never this and that. Then I was like, well, the consumer does want to learn. You're just not.
But you also taste it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can taste the difference.
You taste it, you smell. How does it make you feel?
Yeah.
How does it make you feel? How does I mean, I'll always, like, now that I'm learning myself, quality over quantity is always the good way to go. And your nose knows.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if something doesn't smell right, doesn't taste right, is it going to be right?
Well, we evolved that way. Humans evolved to smell things. And if it doesn't smell right, our body triggers certain things. That's why you get like, when it, like something's rotten or just smells bad, that's an evolved response. And that's your body telling you, do not eat that. Do not consume that. So when you smell weed, you go, oh, do not smoke that. If you smell weed, you go, ooh, smoke that. Yes. Because that more than likely might be a better product than what you had. Now, don't get me wrong, there's outliers and other things that might go into it. But for the most part, you can trust your nose. And I have many times, like my sense of smell has never been that great. I have terrible sinuses and stuff. But when I do smell it and it's certain terpenes, I go for it. I'm like, this is great. And sometimes I can't even stop it. Like if it's a product that I'm like, oh, I'm not sure about this, and I smell it and I'm smoking it, I'll just say, this is good, without even thinking about it. And I'm like, oh shit, I just said that shit was good. And I was like, I guess it was good. But yeah, normally you're not getting it for $650 a pound. If you are, good for you. If you're getting something like 3% terps, the 24% THC, you get that CBG in there, CBD, other compounds and stuff, good for you. But from what I've seen, most of the time, the $650 pounds are low to mid quality. You're still paying about $1,200 to $2,000 for higher quality cannabis grown, indoor, outdoor, whatever. You're still paying higher end dollar because it's a higher end product.
So you're talking like on the grower side. I'm like, wait, is that like a $10 eighth or what?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So $650 pound at the retail side, they'll probably try to flip that for a lot more.
I've seen $10 eighths and I've seen $15 eighths, and it's just like, I'll skip on that.
Yeah, and that's where they usually come from. It's stuff like this. It's a $650 pound.
But I've learned with prices too, like just the difference, and I mean, well, just knowing the grower, knowing the strains, which the strains, I feel like the bud tenders have taught me more on that.
Yeah.
The strains and the terpenes, so that's a plus. But when it's like on the lower end, I'm like, I don't trust it.
I don't either, and I'm just like it's $3, and I'm like, ooh,
is it $3? Is it worth it? Is it worth me dying and just choking?
You paid 50 cents and you're charging me $3. It's like, oh.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's just the way it is. And it goes to show us that people went into this industry with the wrong mindset. Their mindset was, we're going to grow as much as we possibly can. We're going to tank the price. We're going to do this and that, and it's kind of having an opposite effect. Like you're having people like this selling their grows, and some of these people, they can't get rid of their grows. They're pretty much giving it away for free as long as you can pay for the fees. Like in California, that's the case happening in some places. Is like, we'll give it to you as long as you can pay the city fees, the state fees, and all that. And that's another issue that we're running into too. The overregulation, like I said before. Places like California have taxed the living shit out of cannabis at every turn possible. Luckily here in New Mexico, it's not as bad as that. Like you get taxed everything you do in California. They have a middleman that you get your product from versus going straight to the the grower kind of thing, and it gets like a little convoluted and it's kind of confusing of a process. So within that happens with this, because everyone, like I said, is just trying to make it, but I don't think some of these people realize that this low quality stuff isn't gonna keep them going forever. You know, you can only grow low quality, and people are only going to want that for so long. So we'll see how much longer these bigger grows are going to be around. And I keep telling people this here, even in New Mexico, this 20,000, 10,000 plant count thing, it's not sustainable for New Mexico, and it's going to have to change. And it's in the law where they do have to lower the plant counts because we have an overabundance of cannabis right now. That's we have $50 ounces, $30 ounces. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, lower quality stuff, but it's out there. And it's really hard to just keep up the quality when you have that much plants. So we'll see what happens. You know, with this situation and everything, as time goes, I'm just seeing more and more big guys going down. Don't get me wrong, little guys, you know, they leave the market all the time too. But I'm seeing more and more of these big guys that should be sticking around with a lot of money getting out of the industry because it's not worth it. I mean, shit, even Scott's Miracle Grow got out of the cannabis industry because they couldn't make money because they were betting off of these guys with the big grows to just hand over fist, give them the money because they're going to be pumping out cannabis. But they're even seeing that, well, these guys are going out of business. That means we're going to go out of business because they're the ones keeping us in the most, giving us the most business because they're buying the most. The micros, of course, they buy from them, but they're not buying as much and not as frequent. But the big dudes, yeah, they were buying a lot from the Scots guys, and they went under. I think Hawthorne was the official name that they went under for the cannabis side. And I had ordered for them a few times too when I was with a different company, and I dealt with them for a while. And you know, don't get me wrong, it was a great company. They had great prices and everything, but the money just wasn't there. You know, and if the money's not there, businesses are going to leave, and that's what we're seeing with this. So hopefully, we'll see the rise of the micro with something like this, you know, like more micros popping up. And here in New Mexico, there's a lot of micros that haven't had their day yet. You know, like I keep running into ones I've never heard of, but they have really good product. And I'm like, you just haven't had your day yet. You know, like it's coming. Don't worry. Keep putting out your product. Your day is coming. And to be honest, with stuff like this, with these guys, you know, going out of business, it's coming quick. So keep putting out that good product. Keep it small.
Stay consistent.
Yeah, stay consistent. Keep your garden small, and you know we'll eventually get there.
And definitely personable because I mean it's still a plant. It's the more one-on-one and care and loving and stuff that you have with your plant, it's gonna show their living thing, living thing. So I do have. Well, I mean it's interesting. I didn't know a lot of that stuff that you were talking about, but I'm glad that we could hear on that side and learn about that side.
Yeah, appreciate it. You know, and thank you for your 2 cents and stuff like that. And I know I can blab on, but I can talk about growing stuff like all day. So we'll see what happens. You know, we're 2 years away from our 5-year mark here in New Mexico. I have a feeling, and
that went by fast.
It did. You know, it did, and we're already halfway through the year of this year. So yeah. Half of the year's gone. Yeah, gone. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited for micro grows and the rise of them because that's what I'm seeing from here. So if you're a micro grow, keep going at it. You know, keep doing it. You know, perfect your craft because you're going to be one of the top people in this industry nationwide once we go federal legal. Because I keep telling people this too. You're not going to be able to rely on the retail side forever. You know, the dispensary. Because eventually, when we go federally legal, what's going to happen? Walmart's going to get it. Walgreens is going to get it. Gas stations are going to get it. Restaurants are going to get it.
I definitely see that for sure.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's going to be selling these products.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, you kind of already see it with those other businesses coming in to the industry and not really knowing, hey, there's still patients here that I don't know. I guess that's also my mission too, is to, when I walk into a dispo or I meet a grower or I meet anybody, I want them to remember remember the patient. Yeah. Remember the patient. Remember what you're doing this for, and it's not just a money grab. And just please care for our health, and we'll keep coming back.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, every cannabis consumer is a patient, whether they like it or not. You know, I don't know how many times I see somebody I hear somebody tell me, I use it just to chill out after work. Well, that's medicinal. If you need something to chill out, that's medicinal.
But definitely. And they don't realize that when they speak it out, they don't realize what they're doing. They're just like,
but sometimes they just need to be aware, let them know that that's what's going on. It's like, look, dude, you're medical. Look at what you just said. And sometimes they go, oh shit, you're right. You know, and like I tell New Mexicans all the time, get your damn card and stop paying taxes. You know,
I did.
You did.
I did.
Yes. So if you're from Texas, you can get your teacup card, your Texas cannabis whatever card, and you can use it here in. Say what?
Texas. It's the Texas Compassionate Use Program.
There we go. That's what it is. Yeah. But short, the teacup.
Yes.
If you have that or a medical card from anywhere in the world, really, you can use it here in New Mexico and not pay taxes. And that's what a lot of Texans have been doing. They come here, they show the card, and don't pay taxes, which, I mean, come on. Like so many people get mad at taxes and the government and this and that. Well, this is one way to legally say, fuck that.
Yes. And Texans, we're little spoiled babies. We want discounts, or we want the penny pre-roll or anything. But hey guys, you do yourself the biggest discount and get your medical card.
It's 20% off the bat. Like if you get an out the door price, that has the tax included. You're getting a cheaper price. So yeah, don't get me wrong. You do have a limit. You do have a unit limit. It's a 90 rolling days, but it's a lot. It's like quite a bit. So, I don't see most patients running out unless you're trying to sell it, which don't get me wrong. I know people are doing that, but don't, guys, just enjoy it for yourself. Don't ruin it for everyone else.
Yeah, don't take advantage of it either. But no, definitely, it definitely helped me save, because I want to see what works for me. I want to be able to what's best for my money too. So sometimes when I do go to different spots after a while, like the taxes are just like killing me, and I'm like, man, that's a whole eighth that I could.
And it increases by 1% next month, so taxes are going up. Yeah, so what a better incentive to get your card now. So get your card. Don't pay the 21% tax now that's going to be next month. And that's something that we tried to fight this past legislative session, but unfortunately, the people with the big money wanted to close licenses. They wanted to get rid of hemp and all this other stuff instead of trying to do things that would benefit everybody in the industry. Like, I don't know, lowering our taxes. Everybody has to pay that who has a retail here in New Mexico, even the big guys. So why wouldn't you want to try to lower that? And I get it. The legislature is going to fight us on it, but I don't give a shit. This is a government for the people, by the people, not a government for the people, by me, fuck you. That's not the way this works. They're called representatives for a reason, and it's not to tell me what they want. It's for me to tell them what I want. So remember that. They work for you, but also be respectful. I get it. Tensions get high. People get very emotional, or they're very passionate, but no one wants to work with an asshole. So when you're talking to your representatives, emailing them, whatever, be very respectful as much as you can. I get it. We'll make memes. Even I make memes sometimes, but try to keep them as respectful as possible. I was making some Dan Patrick memes a couple weeks ago. Twitter didn't like it, and I got taken down like 10 times. So finally it's up. But just be respectful as possible, especially when you're talking to them. I get it. Some of them don't get it. But what do? You speak at the ballot box. Do not vote for them. Stop voting against ourselves. Like, that's what we've been doing time and time again in this industry, is we vote against ourselves because we're stuck in this political, red versus blue kind of thing, versus trying to figure out what candidate is going to be the best for my industry. Because red versus blue doesn't pay your bills. Cannabis industry pays your bills. And you want to make sure that this industry is doing well, so that way you can continue to pay your bills. Because if not...
Also, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Also know where it's going.
Yeah.
Where who's getting what, especially if it's coming back to our community.
Yeah.
So much money is being spent down there, and it's like, you see Sunland, and it's like, where's it going? They have a huge water issue right now.
Oh, they do, and their water's terrible.
Where's the money going?
Yeah, and Sunland Park has historically been a very corrupt city government, and that's been like the thing for a very long time. And I hope that's not the case. Let's make changes. Run for office, guys. That's the best thing you can do, is run for your local offices. Yeah, and that's the best you can do. Who knows? Because some of these people have been there for too long, or they just have not the best interest for everybody. It's just for themselves. So that's the unfortunate part. And we'll see.
You should run for office. I vote for you.
Maybe one day, we'll see. But that's all I have for this conversation right here. Let's get to the last one. I'll get you guys out of here for the day, because we're probably getting close to that hour. And thank you so much for being patient, for your 2 cents on everything. You're giving some really great perspectives, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Of course. So the last conversation we're going to talk about is the hemp ban hammer. It keeps coming down on us. Now, this time it's coming from Congress, from the federal government, of course, from the House of Representatives side. One of the representatives there, he introduced a bill that's essentially going to crack down on the 2018 Farm Bill loophole that pretty much everybody's been using, including Texas. It's going to ban Delta 8, HAC, O, even THCA, and all that good stuff. Now, I don't like this kind of things because it's a slippery slope. Hemp and cannabis are the same damn plant. So now we're attacking it because of the compounds that they figured out how to synthesize from a other compound from the plant. So now we're saying that one's bad because it's not natural, all the while we're still pushing for pharmaceuticals. So it's kind of like, well, where do we stop? Like, well, where's the real issue here? Because in Texas, they're fighting the hemp stuff,
Yes.
but a lot of it is being lobbied by the beer and alcohol industry. They're the ones really pushing hard on that. And no one's talking about the issues that Texas has with alcohol, even El Paso. You and I both see it all the time. And we mentioned FitFam earlier, and it's an Instagram account where, they just post things that's going on. Actually, I know more about El Paso from that than I do the local news.
Yes. It's definitely something, just a news outlet, basically. It became our news outlet.
Yeah.
Where anything's happening, check FitFam, because it'll show you the great things about El Paso too, but majority of it shows you the alcohol issue we have down there.
And and to be honest, New Mexico deals with it too.
Yeah, you had told me that too, and I was like, but Gallup, I do know is
Drunktown, USA.
Yeah. So I know, I hate saying that, but that's why I'm so glad that like there's even dispensaries now there to give them a better option to with whatever it is that they're consuming alcohol. Most of the time they get off of alcohol or other pharmaceuticals and they consume cannabis. So
I mean, the opioid issue that we have is better in states that have legal cannabis. And that's something that's been known for years. That even when we were just a medical cannabis state, that was a statistic. And unfortunately, my older sister became a statistic because she passed away from prescription pills. And I'm a sole believer that if she had access to cannabis the way that I have it now, she would still be with us. She was Army vet too, had her own issues, and the prescription pills is what took it away. The pills that the VA gave us and still try to give us to these days really mask your issues. They're not fixing anything, and they're not teaching you how to deal with it. And that's where I think we're lacking. And when we start attacking cannabis like this, like the hemp bans, I get worried because not only are we attacking a plant that's helped so many veterans, get off alcohol or pills, or just, are here with us still, by not committing suicide, due to, their cannabis use and improving their life, they're going to miss out on this, because I get it. People want people to use regular cannabis, but you know what? People have found relief with Delta 8. People have found relief with HHC. People have found relief with these other compounds. And they don't like the regular cannabis. So don't think that because they're going to ban this, they're going to come to your dispensary. No, they're just going to order it online, or they're going to find it somewhere else. And we've learned time and time again, making things illegal doesn't work. Regulation is what works and ensures that the products we get, because our real issue with the hemp thing is there's no age limit. Like they refuse to put an age limit on it. And I don't know why, like there's an age limit on so many things. Yeah. Right. Like that's like their main concern is like kids are getting. I was like, well, put a fucking age limit on it. Like you do it with everything else. You raised the limit for tobacco a few years ago, it used to be 18. Now it's 21. Yeah. You didn't know that?
No.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Like 4 or 5 years ago, they raised the limit. Yeah. It's went from 18 to 21. And that was because kids kept getting it in high school. So, and so, I mean, it's worked. Less kids get it. No, kids still get it, but less kids are getting it, because your friend who's a senior isn't buying it for you.
Correct.
Now it's your friend who's in college. So, it's always a cat and mouse game. We can always try to ensure kids aren't going to get it, but if you really want it, you're going to get it. You're going to figure it out. I mean, there was times where people tell me that homeless people would get them alcohol. Like they'd get a bum to get them beer or whatever the fuck. They'd go in the store, get them the alcohol, and that
for an extra buck or something.
Yeah, I had my older sister.
Beer?
Yeah, exactly. We all did it. But if they want to mitigate that concern, add an age limit to it. Like what the hell? Like that's something simple. If you're worried about these products, test it. Experiment. Yes. Let's do some studies on this stuff. Let's stop just fear mongering. Like legislating off of fear gets us where we are. And
that's also why you gotta educate people. Because I'm gonna be honest. Like even though I only heard of before the market, the legal market, I only heard of CBD. That was it. Anything else, I thought it was spice.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's spice. I'm not gonna do any of that. Like, but then as more people were telling me, like, no, I don't. They don't like the feeling of being high.
Yeah.
So, but they want all the health benefits of it too, compared to something else as like a pharmaceutical pill, that's just gonna mask the problem. And like from the medical side that I have and reading all the charts and everything that I've ever read, it was it's very, 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 it's very addicting and bad for you, these pills that any of the doctors push on you.
Yeah.
So if they could get rid of, if you were, that's why it's just like a double-edged sword. You can't tell them like to consume cannabis and it's going to be better for you or whatever, because we're not a doctor. But if they do educate themselves and they start using that product, well, it's less and less pills, and then it's less and less money for them.
Yeah.
So that's where they're going to try to ban it and make it oh, and I hate to say this, but they want to make it the gateway drug.
Yeah.
And try to make everybody fear that.
Yeah. And
like, no,
with the studies coming out that I've been seeing and everything, it looks like they're pushing for that.
Yeah.
You know, like the one with the heart stuff and everything. And don't get me wrong, you should consult your doctor when it comes to cannabis consumption, especially medically. You should really consult your doctors to make sure, even like if you're going under something as simple as anesthesia, you can't use cannabis before because it'll pretty much you'll wake up during it. You don't want to do that. So you do need to talk to your doctor. However, we need the medical community to catch up with this as well. So it's a both sides kind of issue. We need to educate ourselves and also speak to our doctors, but our doctors, nurses, and everyone else in that industry, they need to catch up and get to speed too, because this whole reefer madness thing that's going on with it, that needs to stop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, telling me it's dangerous, but also giving me legal meth, that doesn't make me trust you. You know, like it's not a, you know, you can get fentanyl from a doctor. You know, like I know people are trying to get it off the street, but it's in our pharmacies.
It is.
You know, like once it's off the street, it's just going to come from the pharmacies.
Yeah,
you know, that's what
I didn't even know that. Like, I'm not even funny. Like the first time that I heard about fentanyl, I literally thought it was just like a synthetic street drug.
Yeah.
That's all I thought it was. And they're like, no, we could get it from a doctor. Like they what?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
And that was my gripe with them trying to get rid of drive-thrus. I'm like, you guys are so worried, but you have Joe Schmo over there right next door to a dispensary getting fentanyl from a drive-through window at Walgreens. You know, the same place I can get beer and cosmetics and snacks. Like, this doesn't make sense. So hopefully things change, because, I mean, even with this bill that he introduced, you know, THCA is attacked, and then they dropped that down to 0.3% too. So, you know, I know the whole loophole with THCA, they're trying to close every loophole possible. To be honest, there's just going to be another loophole that pops up and someone else is going to use it. I think the whole hemp industry, I wouldn't say the whole hemp industry, the 2018 Farm Bill, that's where this came from, caused more confusion than anything, because now we have the same plant being controlled by so many different entities. So we have cannabis that's considered hemp if it's under 0.3%. That's controlled by the federal government now. But then you have regular cannabis that's federally illegal and controlled by individual states. And then we're trying to get to the Schedule 3 thing and have it medical. So then we're trying to have the federal government control that part too. So we have one plant that's trying to be controlled by like 5 different entities. And it's causing a lot of confusion. And we need to get away from that one day, because when we go federally legal, are we still going to ban Delta 8? Are we still going to ban HHC? Are we going to still ban 8 and Delta O? You know, are we still going to do these things? And that's my question. You know, this is going backwards. And I get some businesses are feeling like, yeah, I'm going to benefit. No, you're not, because these people don't want your product now. What makes you think they're going to want it then? You know, like afterwards, because Delta 8, you don't get some of the side effects that cannabis gives you. People report that they don't get the anxiety, they don't get the munchies, they don't get some other, you know, side effects that comes from regular THC. And to be honest, they should be allowed to use that if they want. They're adults.
Yes.
But these should be tested. They should be ensuring that no kids are getting this, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
All of that comes down to regulation instead of banning. And I thought the drug war taught us that. But unfortunately, it looks like some of our representatives in Congress are trying to go the other route. And to be honest, I also think that this is coming from the alcohol industry and Big Pharma too. You know, I think those are the 2 lobby groups that, you know, really don't want to see cannabis get any further than what it is, because for the first time last year in history, more people were using cannabis than when they were drinking. Alcohol sales are down exponentially. And I believe the pharmaceutical companies are hurting too, because not everybody is taking Tylenol 20 times a day because they have a headache, you know, or, you know, taking something when the elbow hurts. They're putting a cream on, a cannabis cream.
Or because you see the lawsuits happening on TV.
That too.
Some people are like, I'm not going to trust you.
Yeah.
Or like, if anything, also because I'm a firm believer, when does the government give you anything free? So it's just like, even certain vaccines, I'm like, no, I'm going to wait until the side effects list comes out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Like
fair.
I told you, I get really really obsessed when I want to read up on side effects on medication or what I'm taking.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't even buy video game consoles when they first come out. I wait about a year
To see the reviews and see what happens if
so
they
they
blow
can get all the
up.
bugs out. Yeah, exactly. You
all
know,
the
so
viruses in there.
yeah, exactly. You know, all the little hiccups and everything that run into it. You know, that's where the red ring of death came from the 360 days. You know, yeah. Everyone in the room knows that one. Yeah, and if y'all watching don't remember, back in the day, 360 when it first came out, it had an issue where something would get unsoldered and it would give you this red ring. And you couldn't use your Xbox or anything. And of course, there's little fixes and stuff. But eventually, you would just have to send it to Xbox, and they sent you a new one. I had the red ring of death, and that's what happened to me. They just sent me a new console. But if I would have waited,
I only read about it. I didn't live those days.
oh yeah, sorry, I'm old as shit. So, but yeah, that's one thing that I like to do too is wait. You know,
just wait. I mean, I let other people. I'm guilty of that. I let them be test dummies on stuff where I'm like, let's see the side effects on that, and then because most of the time within less than a year, you see a pill taken off the market because all this stuff happens. So yeah, people are gonna be iffy on things, on wanting to take anything, but like we said, you've never really heard of anybody dying or overdosing on cannabis.
Yeah, you know, and they're trying to make it seem like you can or whatever. Your risks of dying are higher using it, but time will tell. You know, more studies need to be done. You know, none of this
I'll
is
be a
conclusive.
test dummy. You guys could test me.
So to test cannabis.
Cannabis. I'll volunteer as tribute.
Awesome. Well, that's all I have for this conversation and everything. I hope this doesn't pass because this just makes our job a lot harder and, you know, just makes the mission a lot longer. But with the administration that we have, it doesn't look like we're going to have any help from them, unfortunately. It's actually going the opposite direction. So hopefully that stops, but, you know, I'm not holding my breath. So we'll see what's going on. The state's already said, fuck the federal laws because we have so many states that have legal and medical cannabis now. So I don't see much changing in that front if something like this happens. Or even if they try to crack down more on cannabis itself from the federal level. But we'll see what happens.
Yes.
You know, I hope to God that one day we just get federal decriminalization of cannabis on that level. So that way we can get rid of 280E. We can get rid of all this confusion and stuff like that, because that's all this has really done is just cause confusion. And even on the law enforcement side, they get confused on this too, and just causes lawsuits. So waste of money, waste of time, waste of effort, waste of human life.
You know what would be a great idea? And now that you're just like speaking, I just thought of it. It'd be amazing. Well, they get it together. We could just stop like the cannabis arrests.
Yeah.
Well, you guys figure that out. Like let's just wait it out, but not where our freedom is in jeopardy.
Yeah.
I think that's something. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
And that's why I didn't want them to ban the Delta 8 and the THCA and all that shit here in New Mexico, because I was like, okay, so now I have to convince a police officer that I have a federally illegal scheduled substance that is legal in my state, and I don't have a federally legal substance that is now illegal in my state. So that's what you're telling me I have to do now. So now the police are going to be confused and not know how to enforce this. And we're just going to run into lawsuits and issues and stuff like that. Like, come on, guys. Like, you know, again, banning things does nothing but cause confusion and just cause more issues. You know, like this just creates a black market. You know, like instead of regulating it, this is just going to go down to the black market. The people that make this are going to continue to make it. You know, just like spice and all that other stuff. Now, this is nothing spice. Spice was totally synthetic. This is synthesized, or THCA, which is natural. It's just undecarboxylized, or pretty much they haven't heated up the cannabis for it to become THCA or THC. I don't want to use too big of words. And that's all that is. You know, it's just simple shit being confused, you know, and just making it worse. So anyway, that's all I have for this episode and this conversation. I don't want to get on too winded on that because I could talk all day. But thank you so much again for joining me today. It was a great conversation. You did great, by the way.
Thank you.
And a fun time. So I look forward to having you on again. Maybe we can have you on next season, kind of get an update of what's going on.
Yes, definitely. I mean, because I'm here to stick around, and I mean, we're all in this fight together. Yeah. So I'm just definitely trying to bring more people. And yes, even though I'm from El Paso, New Mexico, let's all do it together. Let's all do it up.
We're all American. Yeah. We're all from the United States. You know, we all should want all Americans to enjoy the same thing. So anyway, thank you guys so much again for tuning in this week. I'll be back next week with another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. But before we go, is there anything you want to say?
No, Just thank you for having us. It was fun. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you again. And drive safe back to El Paso.
Yes, definitely.
All right, guys, I'll see you next week. And y'all drive safe wherever you're going to your destinations. Like, subscribe, whatever you got to do to stay in the know. All right, guys. Shoots.
Bye.
All right.